Right now, PS3 emulation on Android is in that weird early phase, where the software is holding back the hardware. Devices like the Ayn Odin 3 and Retroid Pocket 6 already have enough raw power to handle a lot of the workload. The problem is that the emulators themselves are still immature. They're basically translating PS3 code in real time, and that process is messy. So even when the hardware clearly has enough strength to run a game, you still run into shader stutter, driver issues, crashes, and random slowdowns because the emulation layer hasn't fully caught up yet. Take Odin 3 for example. The Odin 3 runs on the Snapdragon 8 Elite, and that power is doing most of the heavy lifting here. PS3 emulation on Android is still early, so instead of smooth optimization, the device is basically forcing games to run through raw performance. You have two main emulators right now. RPCSX is the one most people use for better performance, but it takes effort to set up. A PS3E is easier to use and more straightforward, but sometimes falls a bit behind in speed. Actual gameplay depends heavily on the game, rather than Ayn Odin 3's hardware. Lighter titles and some mid-level 3D games can run well. Games like Asura's Wrath, Dante's Inferno, and Borderlands can hit playable frame rates easily, sometimes even at higher resolutions. But some heavier PS3 games struggle a lot. Big titles like God of War 3 can boot, but you'll run into glitches, crashes, and unstable performance. And even if it boots, it's not something you'd sit down and fully play through. That's kind of the theme here. Nothing is going to be plug and play. Every game needs its own settings. You'll be adjusting graphics, testing drivers, tweaking resolution over and over. Testing settings from a YouTube video or from a subreddit, some tweaks that worked for others may not work for you. Even when you get a game running well, it might crash later or behave differently next time. There's also the hardware side. The PlayStation 3 is notoriously difficult to emulate because of its cell processor. Even powerful desktop PCs struggled with it for years, so getting it running on Android is a huge challenge. Running PS3 emulation pushes the Odin 3 really hard. It gets hot, drains the battery faster, and the system runs at full power the entire time. So what you're getting right now isn't a polished experience. It's more like testing the limits of what's possible. If you enjoy pushing hardware to its limits, or there's a PS3 exclusive you've wanted to try for years, you can do that here. The Odin 3 gives you just enough power to make it possible. But it's not something you can rely on every day. Performance isn't consistent, crashes still happen, and a lot of games need constant tweaking. It works, but it feels more like experimental rather than something you'd sit down and use as your main way to play PS3 games.